Greetings, Earthlings. We come in peace. We only have arrived on your planet to gather all the water from your oceans and seas and other bodies of water. Fear not. If you cooperate, no harm will be done to you. Thank you very much for your cooperation. And remember, live long and prosper.
It's what's inside that counts.
And Bee Gees' Staying Alive is a veritable classic, and I particularly like the version featured in Airplane from the 1980s. And it goes a little bit like this. Well, no matter where, you know better, staying alive, staying alive. Feel us breaking and everybody shaking, just staying alive, ha 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 ha, staying alive, ha 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 ha, staying alive, ha 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 ha, help. Hi there guys, I hope you're well. Welcome back to my channel called Blast and the Past, and this time around I have a review of the film Midday from 2008 starring Eddie Murphy, and to be honest, it's a pretty underrated flick, a nice comedy, a very heartwarming, family-friendly film, and for some reason it was bashed by critics and audience didn't like it either at the time of its release, but right now I think that people started warming up to it, because the critical reception, at least in the comment section on the IMDB website, is pretty positive, so people defend this film. Or at least most of them. Therefore, without further ado, buckle up and let's get ready for a crazy, wacky ride together with Eddie Murphy and myself. So here goes nothing.
Meet Dave.
Regarding my take on Midday from 2008, actually recently I've seen it only for the second time, I believe, and the first time around I liked it, but I thought that it was a little bit undercooked and the basic premise of the film was crazy, maybe too wacky. So basically it's a robot in the shape of Eddie Murphy's character, who is also the captain of this vessel, and together with his crew, Star Trek-like, they go to planet Earth to suck out all the available water in order to save their own planet, their own civilization. And we all know very well that Eddie Murphy is famous, or according to some people infamous, for playing multiple roles in one motion picture. For example, it happened with Norbit 1 year before Midday. And actually directed by the same director, Brian Robbins. And in this case it seems that the plot was just a gimmick to give Eddie Murphy some space to execute his acting, his comedic chops to the best of his capabilities. But the second time around, actually, it didn't bother me that much. It didn't stick out like a sore thumb. If you take it for what it is, if you take it at face value, you are in for quite a ride and quite an enjoyable one. And this is a very harmless picture. It has a lot of heartwarming moments for the whole family, so I think that all in all, maybe not everything works in this picture perfectly, but as a form of family entertainment for the whole family, together with your beloved ones, I think it's a good pick.
We're under attack.
And I think that it's one of the best offerings of Eddie Murphy's in his later career in the late 2000s, because we had such films as, of course, Pluto Nash, Norbit, this one, Midday in 2008, and later on we had other family flicks like A Thousand Words, for instance. So none of them has been welcomed and greeted by critics and accepted. So all of them, I think that they have pretty average or even lower scores than that. But I have a soft spot for Eddie Murphy, and I also have a weak spot for Pluto Nash for some reason. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but to me that motion picture is also pretty good in its so bad so good category. So nothing works there in theory, but in practice somehow I enjoyed it. But this is just me. And coming back to Midday,
The Adventures of Pluto Nash. Whoa! Whoa!
I would recommend it to you if you want to have a couple of laughs, if you want to cheer up, be in good spirits, be in high spirits, and just enjoy Eddie Murphy in yet another dual role, as he usually does it. You remember Coming to America? One of the classics? Yes, so we have something similar. But here he's only multiplied twice, not more, like in some other films. For example, The Nutty Professor.
It was the most ripping victory.
Son, if you want to keep working here, stay off the drugs.
Regarding the picture quality of this film, actually I'm very surprised because this DVD release, it delivers in this department. I think that it's way above the average standard for this format, this dated format we could say right now, but still the picture is crisp enough, sharp enough, the colors are okay, maybe not very vibrant, they never ooze out of screen, but for example when you have New York, the New York presented in its all greatness on the screen, you never feel that the picture quality disappoints, and you have many shots from above, from the bird's eye view, and they are impressive even on the dated DVD format. And on top of that you have many language options. For example, this particular edition features also Spanish subtitle, so it's always a nice addition for people who want to learn other languages. All in all, I think that it's good to have this film in your collection.
Estamos al borde de la anarquía. Ahora no trato de dejarme llevar por la música.
Even if it's only a mere DVD one, because I'm not sure whether it's ever been released on Blu-ray. I presume that it has been, but sometimes you just have to make it work with what you have, and since I've acquired it pretty recently, I decided to give it a go for the second time, and I'm not disappointed. And to be perfectly honest, I don't even need a Blu-ray, although an upgrade would be very welcome, as it always is. Even, for example, in this particular scene, you can see that the format is great because it fills in the whole screen to the brim. I'll always like it, I appreciate it, and also you can see that the color palette is never washed out and the details are there. So what more would you require? For a home screening, not on a gigantic screen, it is just as good as it gets on this old, antique, dated format. In terms of this DVD release, you also have some extras in here, special features, and we have a pretty funny gag reel, although also a short, but also there are deleted scenes, and there is even one alternate ending in which there is a hint regarding the potential sequel. So the mother, played by Elizabeth Banks, and her son, they are looking through a telescope into the vastness of the space, and they are thinking about Dave and his crew, what happens. So there is still the door open towards the sequel, and maybe that could mark the return of Brian Robbins back to Hollywood and directing films. You never know, but this is what I like about DVDs. So you also have some special features very often, and this is great for the people who enjoyed the extra bonus features, like even interviews, trailers, you name it, gag reels, alternate endings. This is the charm of the good old DVD format, and also Blu-ray as well. But sometimes it happens that the extras from the previous prior DVD releases are not transferred to Blu-rays. So you have to remember about that. It's always good to have those older releases in your collection just in case. So you have to remember about that. It's always good to have those older releases in your collection just in case.
You're gonna change the world.
There is a pretty funny scene in which Elizabeth Banks' character asks Dave regarding his strange attire, why he's dressed in this white suit, and why he's dressed like it were still the 1970s, and perhaps maybe he was a Bee Gees fan, and the whole crew of the ship, they yahoo the information on Bee Gees, and he says, oh, Bee Gees, the group, the winners of the 1970s Grammys Award, well known for the hit Staying Alive, ha 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 ha, staying alive, ha 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 ha, staying alive. And this is just yet another funny moment in this film. I don't think that it was ad-libbed by Eddie Murphy, but it's great. It's just Eddie Murphy all the way. Singing, dancing, one-man band, doing everything in one motion picture, playing several roles, in this case only 2 roles, being on top of things. So how can you not love the guy, right? And Bee Gees' Staying Alive is a veritable classic, and I particularly like the version featured in Airplane from the 1980s, in which it is sped up in a dance club, and it goes a little bit like this. Well, no matter where you know better, staying alive, feelings are breaking and everybody's drinking, just staying alive, ha 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 ha, staying alive, ha 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 ha, staying alive, ha 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 ha, and so on and so forth. So I would recommend you to watch this if you don't want to watch the whole film, but it's a hilarious comedy. And that's pure comedy gold. In this moment you have a pretty funny scene, although it may be not to everybody's taste, in which Eddie Murphy's character Dave, he keeps printing money and also producing coins from his private parts, let's say, down below. And you can see that the mimic, it's still Eddie Murphy, but a little bit aged. So he was no spring chicken at that time, and sometimes it shows in terms of his facial mimic, but still the energy is there, and you can see that he goes all the way and he improvises on the set of this film. So this is just Eddie Murphy, still maybe a little bit longer in his tooth, but in a very good shape anyway. And here is a piece of trivia featured on the IMDB website, connected to the action presented on the screen, and it reads like this. Nearly every person credited here as a chorus line dancer was a member of the original Broadway cast of the 2006 revival of Chorus Line. That's interesting. Moving on. What I also do like about Meet Dave is the cinematography, the work of the director, because it also depicts, the film depicts the beauty of New York, the New York City, Big Apple, how busy it is, and actually I don't see too many differences in comparison with the current one, maybe apart from the payphones, but even I've never noticed them in this case either. So I think that even in 2008 they must have been on their way out from New York. And there are still other things which date this motion picture a little bit. So first of all, that would be Yahoo, and secondly, that would be MySpace. So first of all, the crew of the ship, they Yahoo things in order to find the basic information. And come on, right now, we Google them. There is even a special verb created for that, when we need to look up some information, basically everything. So we Google it, we don't Yahoo it. And it's a relic of the past. And another relic of the past, this is MySpace. Because I don't even know whether MySpace is still used, but definitely it's not relevant. But in the past, it was a platform to connect people associated with music, with the world of entertainment, and one of the characters, one of the members of the crew of this ship brags that, oh, right now I have over 400 friends on MySpace, and right now I don't think that the younger audience would even know what he was talking about. Yahoo and MySpace, oh, relics of the past, aren't they? That's a veritable blast from the past.
Meet the mature side of MySpace and see how they're staying in touch with old friends and making new ones with just a click of the mouse.
The cast of Meet Dave is very good because apart from Eddie Murphy, who steals the show, and actually it is his show, we also have Elizabeth Banks as a lonely mother with a son who is growing up without a father, without a father figure. We also have Scott Caan as a police officer. There is also Kevin Hart in a smaller role as a member of the crew, and this is funny when you think about him. So Eddie Murphy was a role model for him, and right now he is also a very big star. He's everywhere, especially cooperating a lot with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. And you remember the phrase, the slogan, "If you smell what The Rock is cooking." And I know what he is cooking, and he's cooking a lot of money in Hollywood. Although his most recent flicks, they've been a flop, like for example Red One, so I don't think that it sells well. But coming back to the cast, so everybody is great here. There is also Gabriel Union as a love interest, an unknowing love interest of Eddie Murphy's character. I mean the captain, not the robot, if it makes any sense. And everybody's great in the roles. Eddie Murphy, of course, we know that he delivers. Elizabeth Banks is very charming as a lonely mother who does her best to raise her son on her own. And Kevin Hart, it's a nice secondary role. Gabriel Union is very charming. Scott Caan, he is very interesting because if I'm not mistaken, he's a son of the famous James Caan, and it's a pity that he's never made it big in Hollywood because he has the looks, he has the charisma, the talent, I presume, so he's very nice in his role in this motion picture, but somehow maybe he's never got a chance to make it big in Hollywood, but he's similar, for the time being at least, to Scott Eastwood, Clint Eastwood's son.
Be with someone if every time they walk out the door I don't know if I'm gonna see them again.
Because Scott Eastwood is doing his best, but right now he has very big shoes to fill, that's for sure, and I don't think that he will ever reach the height of his father in terms of being not only an actor, but first of all a director. But time will tell. And time will also tell how good The Juror is, but I've heard that it's spectacular, and it's also directed by Clint Eastwood.
You know what to do.
In terms of the cast, apart from Kevin Hart, there is also Ed Helms. Right now, a pretty recognizable star too, known from the Hangover franchise, for example. And this is funny to see all those names, pretty unknown or relatively unknown at that time, right now making it big in Hollywood, being big stars. And before, it was just mere beginnings, but you could see it, the talent was there already. And Ed Helms, he plays it perfectly. A lot of tongue-in-the-cheek performance, his performance is over the top, and you can see that he was having fun on the set of that. So Eddie Murphy was not the only one doing his best, so was Ed Helms and many other members of the cast.
I'm going to report you.
Vaporize the child at once!
Delay that order.
I've mentioned that in the 2000s, Eddie Murphy was definitely not in his prime in terms of his projects, how successful or unsuccessful they were in Hollywood at the box office. And here I have another example of the film called I Spy from 2002. In which he starts with Owen Wilson, and it's a pretty nice spy comedy with a lot of action, and it's a remake of a TV series with Bill Cosby. And to be honest, if your expectations are not extremely high, then it's a good flick to provide some entertainment. It's pretty funny, there is a lot of action, the budget is there, so it's made with panache. And really, if you've never given it a go, please do, because it's Eddie Murphy in a nice role, playing a boxer quite surprisingly, and he's in a very good shape.
Robinson dancing around. What is this? What's going on here?
And the chemistry between Eddie Murphy and Owen Wilson is spot on. So it reminds me a little bit of the Rush Hour. It also features a pretty unusual duo, and especially in terms of the actors, but it works very well. So if you've never seen this film, maybe you could give it a go as well. Because it's yet another film from the 2000 Eddie Murphy, which deserves a second chance, a second go. And also the DVD release is pretty nice and the picture quality is acceptable. So what more do you need? Don't follow the ratings because sometimes they are off, and I think that you should really start reading the comments, especially on the IMDB website, because only then would you have the whole picture of how good a given film is.
You see that? That was a big explosion.
Regarding the critical reception of the film, as I've mentioned before, the picture was bashed by critics, unfortunately, and also even right now it has the average rating on IMDb of around 5.1 out of 10, and on Rotten Tomatoes is only 20%, so it's very low, and on top of that, it was a gigantic flop at the box office, because the budget was around $60 million, but it grossed worldwide merely $51 million. So it was a big blow to the studio and to Eddie Murphy too, who tried to rekindle his career. But there is a silver lining to that. So if you have a look at the comment section on the IMDb website, many people defend this film. They claim that it provides just pure entertainment, it's a very heartwarming picture, made with good intentions, and really the theme of the family coming together.
Probably best to imitate him.
Hi, lefty, huh?
And supporting each other for better or worse. Also about a stranger who comes there and learns the values of love, of understanding, of being together, of companionship. These are just everlasting values. And what more do you need? If the film is funny, it has a big budget, it's never made on the cheap, and there is a very nice vibe and atmosphere, and the jokes are generally in good taste, at least most of them. So maybe it's not extremely hilarious, but I think that if you want to watch it with the beloved ones, if you have some kids, all together, it provides what it's supposed to provide. So really, I don't understand the critics. What did they expect? Shakespeare? It's just a comedy, and it's not that silly when you think about it. There is also a lesson to be learned from it. So I will defend this film, and apparently so will many users on the IMDb website. So chapeau bas, props to them also for having liked this film.
Here it is.
And here is one of many scenes in which Eddie Murphy's character commands the ship, so the representation of himself in the form of a robot. And as you can see, there is the whole crew there assembled together in the commanding center, and Eddie Murphy's character gives the orders and the others follow. But there is something unexpected happening later on. No spoilers, but trust me, not everybody agrees with his ideas of running Dave.
I am indeed your temporary instructor, which I shall prove to you now. Let's teach them something simple, shall we?
And right now on the screen you can see an example of not very good CGI. This is a hot dog eating contest, and as you can see, the hot dogs are made very cheaply. This is obvious CGI at work. But no, it was still the 2000s, so probably at that time they didn't master it yet. And that's why I always prefer relying on practical effects rather than CGI, computer-generated imagery. But this is just me, I'm a fan of retro and vintage. Please let me know in the comment section below what you think about the modern use of CGI in comparison with the good old practical effects.
Hey! Un fratello può avere un po' di salsa piccante insieme?
As always, here we have some pieces of trivia on the film Meet Dave from 2008, which are featured on the IMDb website. Here comes the first one. Eddie Murphy considers Meet Dave as one of the worst movies he ever made, and here comes a quote. I even played a spaceship once. That S didn't go well. Oh, that's a pity that he didn't like his own film, but maybe right now he's warmed up to it. Maybe he's seen it again, and actually people, I think that they enjoy it more than they did at the premiere. Maybe the expectations had been too high, I have no idea. Maybe it was just the critical reception and the people jumped on the bandwagon of criticizing Eddie Murphy. I have no idea, but I hope that he has changed his mind, or at least that he has warmed up to his own work after all, because it got bashed, but quite undeservedly, in my opinion at least. Please let me know in the comment section below what you think about the critical and financial of Meet Dave. Maybe, hopefully, you have a different take on it, on the film. And here's Scott Caan on the screen, and there is a piece of trivia connected to him. During an interview, Scott Caan teased for Meet Dave 2, but due to the movie bombing at the box office, a sequel didn't happen. But you never know. Right now we have Axel F, the continuation, yet another sequel to the Beverly Hills Cop franchise. I've heard it's pretty good, that Eddie Murphy does deliver, and actually I started watching it, so maybe I will let you know later what I think about it.
God, I missed you, Axel.
But it looks very promising, I must add. But that's a shame that it bombed so heavily, so strongly, like it never recouped its pretty big budget. But, like I said, Hollywood likes coming back to things, refreshing them, creating sequels or soft reboots. So in this case, if Eddie Murphy is for it, and as long as the script is good, it's well written, with a lot of heart and soul, and the budget is there, I have no objections. Maybe it could work. We shall see. And right now, here's Kevin Hart on the screen, and there is a piece of trivia connected to him. Kevin Hart plays number 17. Kevin Hart cites Eddie Murphy as an influence in his comedy career, and this is interesting to see him follow suit after Eddie Murphy and becoming also a bankable, recognizable star. Maybe he's not in the same league as Eddie Murphy was back in the day in his prime, but still he's featured here and there in every single project, and we'll see what he achieves next. Although Borderlands, I've heard it's been a gigantic flop and it's just a bad motion picture. But what is funny about Kevin Hart in this film is that he sports a very interesting jacket, which has such wide shoulders in here that he looks like either a bodybuilder, Ronnie Coleman, yeah buddy, or an American football player, can't you see? So he's twice as wide as Eddie Murphy, and pretty short, because Kevin Hart, he is not a tall guy, but neither is Eddie Murphy. I presume he's something around 175-77 centimeters. Kevin Hart is significantly shorter than his co-star. But just an interesting thing, so it struck me as odd when I was watching it. What is wrong with his shoulders? Why is he so wide as a bodybuilder? But that's just on the side.
Dave? No, I come free with a venti latte. Of course I'm with Dave, stupid!
In terms of the director, Brian Robbins, he is specialized in comedies, because he's got many motion pictures of this genre under his belt, and even he has cooperated with Eddie Murphy on 3 occasions. The first one being Norbit, bashed by critics, and really it wasn't a good film, but Eddie Murphy played 2 characters, if not more, but 2 definitely, Norbit and his love interest. In 2008, of course, it was Meet Dave, and then we had the last motion picture of this director in 2012, 1,000 Words with Eddie Murphy. Also a pretty nice family comedy, and the basic gimmick is that Eddie Murphy cannot speak too much, so many people criticized the basic premise that Eddie Murphy without the ability to speak, so it's not Eddie Murphy anymore. But I think that if you take it for what it is, it's still a pretty good family entertainment, mostly for the younger audience, I presume. So you can see that he was the right man for the job.
It is? Thanks, fella.
1,000 words.
And like I said before, the motion picture is well directed. You can see that the shots are wide when the New York City is presented in its full, the whole greatness of this city, how busy it is, many wide shots and all from the bird's eye view. This is fantastic, and it also shows you how good of a director he was, if underappreciated, even a lot. But that's a shame, sometimes it happens, but at least he gave it its best.
You like ketchup?
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Unfortunately, Eddie Murphy, for this film, Meet Dave, he got 2 nominations and 1 award, but that's not the Oscars, it's the Razzie Awards, and the nominations having been at that time 4. The worst screen couple, Eddie Murphy and himself, again, because he played the ship, the vessel, and the commander of the crew, and also another nomination, it was for the worst actor generally, but he took the statuette home for the worst actor of the decade. And that's very unfair, because I remember, of course, there was Pluto Nash and other films of this sort, but I have a soft spot for Pluto Nash, and in my books it's just okay. Maybe the budget was blown out of proportion, that's why it flopped, but for some reason I'm nostalgic about it, and really giving this award to Eddie Murphy, that was just a nasty move on their part. So I think that very often you have to take those awards with a grain of salt, if not even more.
I can help you if you know. How about I help you take that?
Meet Dave is also a very interesting motion picture for people who like learning languages, because Eddie Murphy's character, the vessel, he uses a very sophisticated formal language. For example, we will commemorate the birthday of your son with you, or what is this attire? I don't like this garment. So we have such fancy words. If you want to learn some new vocabulary to expand your lexicon, why not give it a go? But please remember, do not speak like Eddie Murphy, because for native speakers you would seem a little bit odd, or maybe like a European person from Europe, because it's a stereotype. If somebody is a little bit weird, odd or eerie, oh come on, they are from Europe. So then anything goes, everything is understood. You have to forgive them for their quirkiness, because, you know, they are from Europe. So not only their accent, but their mannerisms. So take notes if you want, but please maybe remember to use the words correctly. And do not ponder on their meanings too much.
Oh my god, I am talking your ear off.
All is well. And right now on the screen you have yet another relic from the past. So this is an old commercial which would be featured in probably every single DVD release at that time. So it was an anti-piracy one, and they compared it to stealing a car or stealing something else. So people normally wouldn't do it, but they would download films illegally. And that was the point, that on DVD you didn't have to worry about the transfer, about something else, that it was legit also on top of everything else. But I remember, so downloading films back in the day, it was very common, and people purchased films. Right now nobody does it, unfortunately, or very few people like myself, so collectors. So remember, please do support physical media, because it's worth it. And it's just also good to have films in your collection, because one day they are there, the second they disappear from streaming platforms, and at least you are safe. Unless something like the infamous disc rot happens, you will have them forever in your collection. So that's why please remember that piracy is a crime, piracy is wrong, do not download films illegally, but purchase them on DVD, Blu-ray, 4K, whichever you please, whichever you prefer. And also streaming is fine, but then it's not a physical copy, is it? In terms of the budget, even right now, probably you can see on the screen that the money is there, because the CGI effects featured in this film are quite okay for its time. For 2008, mind you, but the explosions, the miniatures, everything seems fine. It never feels very odd, it never feels very off. You can see the blasts here, or the shield which protects the vessel. Everything is fine, so you can see the budget channeled into that production, thankfully. So that's a shame that it was such a big flop. Thank you for this valuable lesson. We've learned how to appreciate your kind. We do know that you do not pose a threat to us, and that you are also a valuable species worth saving. If you ever decide to visit other planets, please pay us a visit too. Thank you for your hospitality, and once again, live long and prosper. Until next time, we will catch up later. Thank you.
Live long and prosper.
As always, thank you very much for your attention, guys. I hope that you have enjoyed my review of Meet Day from 2000 with Eddie Murphy. If you have liked it, please give this video the thumbs up. Please share your comments on the film itself, on Eddie Murphy and his career, also on Axel F from 2024, his newest addition to the Beverly Hills Cop franchise. And if you are not subscribed to this channel, maybe you could consider subscribing to it. And I will catch you up later, that's for sure, maybe with my review, my take on Axel F, the fourth installment to the famous, to the beloved Beverly Hills Cop franchise. Until next time, cheers, bye.
Foley.
Did you say Foley?
Whether you're about to wear your body, just staying alive, staying alive. Feel a little breaking and everybody shaking, just staying alive, staying alive. Ha 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 ha, staying alive, staying alive. Ha 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 ha, staying alive. Ha. And now the falsetto version, why not? Your mother just stay alive, feelings of the breaking and just stay alive, ha 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 ha, stay alive, ha 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 ha, stay alive. By the same director. Why he's dressed up like it's the night? Why he's dressed up? Why he's dressed up like it's the? Why he's dressed up like it were the 1970s? Something around 175-77 centimeters, and Kevin Hart is significantly shorter. Mark the return of